So Diamond Audio has been in the car audio game for a long time and found success amongst SQ competitors and beyond. But more recently, their focus has pivoted towards providing solutions, well, just about everything. Today joining us is John Catalano, the Director of Product Development at Diamond Audio, and we're going to be diving deep into something they're really excited about. They're claiming a lot of things, and I'm going to get to the bottom of the new Diamond Audio DSP amplifiers. This is CMA Connected, brought to you by SiriusXM, and it starts now. And joining us today is our good friend John Catalano. John, good to see you. You are the Director of Product Development at Diamond. You've been there for quite some time now, and you have been a busy bee, haven't you?
I have. We've been doing a lot of work in the background. Lots of stuff.
And you know, if anybody knows John Catalano, John doesn't like to talk a lot, but he does a lot. So today we're going to discover and show all our listeners and talk about this amazing new collection or series of DSP integrated amplifiers that I know you're very proud of. It's taken some time to finally get here, but here we are. So let's start with understanding what it is that we're talking about. What exactly is the product that we're talking about today?
Well, the lineup consists of 4 models. We have 1001 monoblock, full range, 2001 monoblock, also full range, and then we have a 4-channel and a 6-channel. And each of those models also has a full built-in DSP, and whatever model it is, it has 2 extra channels out. So if it's a 6-channel, it's an 8-channel DSP. If it's a 4-channel, it's a 6-channel DSP. So you have room for expansion. If you have you want to add it to an amplifier you already have, and you go ahead and meld those together and daisy chain out, you can do that.
You know, I really like what I hear there, because between a 4-channel, a 6-channel, and 2 monoblocks, that really gives you a lot of flexibility when it comes to system design, right?
Oh yeah, and then the fact that they're very compact.
Wow, they are small.
So that's the 4-channel and the 4-channel and the 1001 monoblock are this chassis size, and then you go to the 6-channel and the 2000 watt.
Just they're very look at that.
Small. It's only about 1.5 inches longer to double the output for the 2000 watt.
Now, I'm going to assume, John, that it was by design that you wanted to come up with small compact chassis as well, right?
Yeah. So we went by our Micro U chassis, and we wanted to keep that footprint, but add all these extra features, add the more power, and we did it by like stacking the amplifier. Like there's 3 circuit boards in each of these amplifiers. It's pretty crazy how we kind of reutilize the space available, and then new technology, new components, very high-end components. The DSP's a US, it's a TI chip, very high-end DSP. So we basically spared no expense to try to design the best possible thing we could for what we wanted to achieve.
Okay, so a lot of the comments sometimes when we see these multi-channel DSP integrated small footprint amplifiers, a lot of times we see a lack of power a little bit. Like they're great for integration, but they don't give a lot of power. But Diamond's not known for low power. So what are the power ratings on these amplifiers?
So again, the 1001 is 1000 watts at 1 ohm. You have the 2001, 2000 watts at 1 ohm. The 1506 does 250 watts by 6 at 2 ohms. And then the 1204 does 300 watts by 4 at 2 ohms.
Okay, that is significantly more than I expected, to be honest with you. Usually, because usually in these you're in the 50, 65 watt range, so that's a lot more power. Now, are these channels bridgeable at all? Like, can you combine these?
You definitely can. So, like, I would, you turn the 4-channel into a 3-channel setup. You can run your sub. You got 600 watts for your sub, and then, 250 or 300 watts for your mids and highs. More than adequate. The 5-channel or the 6-channel, you can make it a 5-channel. You can make it a 3-channel.
Okay.
It's very flexible.
All right, let's dig a little bit deeper here. So we got the fact that there's 4 models, a 4-channel, a 6-channel, and each of those 2 have DSP. Do the monos have DSP as well?
Yeah, they have a 4-channel DSP. So you got 2 channels for the monoblock, because you got to combine the 2 channels, and then you have 2 channels of output to daisy chain to another amp if you like.
There was a time I remember when I was like very confused as to why monoblock amplifiers needed DSP, but as time progressed, there's an absolute need for that. So very cool that Diamond integrated that into their design. Okay, let's get into some of the OEM integration features, because at the end of the day, these amplifiers are meant to go into every type of vehicle, including modern day vehicles, which we all know is not the easiest task. And there's a lot of amplifiers in there that aren't the easiest to integrate, whether it's getting signal, whether it's start stop, whether it's voltage. So talk to us a little bit about the OEM integration features.
Sure. So I'm going to switch my screen real quick for you. And then, so on the amplifier, we have load resistors, which is a huge thing nowadays. If you're going into a newer vehicle and you're disconnecting something to derive signal, the factory amplifier is going to want to shut off. It's going to see an error basically, and it's going to try to protect itself. So you won't get any signal. So we've went ahead and integrated this into the amplifier so you don't have to have an outboard LOC. On top of that, the amplifiers themselves take 20 volts of input on the RCAs. So again, most applications you won't need an LLC. Now if you're going to a factory subwoofer channel, yeah, sometimes they're up to 40 volts or something. That's a little bit different story. But the majority of the applications, you're going to be able to use this amplifier standalone. You're not going to have something extra. So that's less cabling, less chances of having noise because you have multiple units. It's all integrated into the one chassis. And then you take that a little farther, the amplifiers are able to take 17 volts of input. So if you're doing one like a newer Tesla or EV, it's ready for that. It's going to be able to take that power input and not need anything special. It's ready to go. The Teslas are 16 volts now, so you can, no worries there as well.
What about the annoying auto turn, the start stops or the auto turn ons and all that type of stuff?
Yeah, so we have a built-in delay. So you have a turn off delay that's adjustable in the DSP software. So that'll help you with your start stop issues. There's a auto turn on. So you have Vox or DC offset. So that should work with any OEM system, depending on the vehicle. You can just switch between the two. And it has a regular normal remote turn on as well. And both of those are delayable. So it even has an output. So you have a second amplifier, you can adjust the output. So this amp turns on first, this one turns on second in sequence. Yes.
Very cool.
All this is through the software. There's a noise gate. So again, OEM integration. Sometimes there's a noise floor there, like there's no music program playing, you pause it or whatever, and you have a noise floor. You can add some adjustment to that noise gate, and then it'll get rid of that issue as well. So lots of cool little features through the software.
There was a time where all these were separate items that you had to add to your system to make happen, but you found a way to put it all into one chassis. Speaking of that chassis, let's get into the physicality. I mean, obviously it was by design. These are small footprint, designed to go in many places. However, it's not just the size of these amplifiers that makes them interesting. They're also very resilient to the environment. So talk to us a little bit about the water resistance and the little features that you put into it to make it easier to install in about anywhere you want.
Yeah, so again, wanting it to be the go-to amplifier, they're water resistant. They have a quick connector for power. We have an integrated, if I can find it, power connector. I can't grab it. Anyways, so the speaker wires for these, it's molded over, right? So because again, it needs to be for the waterproofing, but also it gives it longevity. So if you're using it in a motorcycle or a UTV or something that's bouncing around everywhere, you don't have a problem with the wires pulling out of the connector. They're all encapsulated just like an RCA would be. It's over molded. And then speaking of the RCAs, they're staggered. So because it's waterproof, and you would normally have a bundle of RCAs, right? So you have a 6-channel amp with 2 channels.
Normally they're all the same length.
Right, they'd be the same length, and they'd all be stacked on top of each other, right? So you'd have them like this. You'd have this giant bundle. So like I said, if it was a 6-channel, you have 8 of these, right? And then you have this big knot, and it's kind of stupid, to be honest with you. So we looked at that and we staggered these, offset these for a pair of RCAs. So when you bundle them together, it's basically the width of one RCA.
Very smart.
The whole length. We also have RCAs coming out that are staggered on the other side.
Oh, to match. So it'd be perfect. Yeah. So they all lit up.
RCAs. They'll be coming soon. So
okay.
And then, like I said, you were saying the footprint, very tiny, compact, low profile, so it fits under a seat, fits in a fairing on a motorcycle, fits in the cowl of maybe a muscle car or something old. It's got Bluetooth streaming built in, so you don't even need a head unit.
Okay, so hold on. Let me ask you a question. How do you connect to this device for the DSP software?
So the software you can connect via Bluetooth or the PC.
Oh, so it's dual purpose Bluetooth.
Yeah.
Ah.
So you can create, like here, I'll pull it up on my phone. You can create, you can use the PC or the DSP software, and you can basically make it your control panel. So you have your master, that's not really in focus, but you have your master volume, you have your sub volume.
Okay, so that also replaces a physical controller as well.
Yeah, this could be your
remote control,
like a remote control. You're flushing your dash, whatever, a tablet or something. All your DSP settings are in here. I wouldn't personally tune it with this. It's not, it's on a phone. It's not really the best way to do it. There's so many controls, but if you needed to tweak like one little thing, yeah, sure, you can go in and
like a quick access kind of thing.
Yeah, but you have 6 presets that you load into the amplifier, and then you can trick them from here. So it gives you a lot of flexibility, and then you can go to the full software. That's really
I was going to ask you that anyway. So what does that look like from a tuner perspective once you've got everything installed?
So here's, you have all your channels here. You have 31 bands per channel. So these are, you can unlink these. So if I go here,
is everything done in one window? Are there a lot of pop-ups? Or there secondary kind of windows that you need? Or
you go to sections, right? So like this is your main page. You're going to do the majority of your adjustments here. This is where all your EQs are. These are full parametric EQs, so you can adjust your boost here. You can even move the frequency if you wanted. You could adjust the bandwidth of that frequency. It's very, very flexible. And then we have a mixer. So you can adjust, you can tell that, like, let's say you only had 2 channels of input, you can get 8 channels of output from only 2 channels of input. Or let's say you wanted to retain fader, but not have your sub fade if you fade it, right? So like in a traditional way, if you were like using an OEM radio and you had 4 channels of output and you connected to the amplifier and you faded to the front for some reason or faded to the back, that might affect your subwoofer because you're getting your subwoofer signal from there too. No, we can go ahead and say, oh, I want my subwoofer signal from all 4 channels. And then that way you don't have a fading subwoofer. You just fade the front channels. Or I'm just throwing out different scenarios there. But again, there's lots of adjustments. You can adjust on that. We have our sound field delay, so we can adjust our sound presence. We can make it sound perfect for the driver. We can make sure all that sound reaches the driver.
And again, you could save up to 6 different profiles.
Yeah.
So if you want to do a 1-seat tune, you could.
Yeah. You can do a 1-seat tune, a 2-seat tune. You could do, like for the guys that are putting this in a motorcycle, there's a tune. You would do a tune for when you're parked.
And when you're riding.
Right? Because if you tune it, for an example, on a motorcycle, if you tune it for for the rider, it's not as loud outside of the motorcycle, right?
Right, because it's more focused. It's more focused.
Right. Because we want that mid bass and everything to be strong for the rider. But then you have like show off style. You change the preset. You can also maybe change the crossover so you can play it a little louder and protect your speakers. So there's lots of things you could do there by going into the software. So if we go back to the software here again, I'll just show you a couple other little cool things. Like I said, you got your power on. When you can have it preset. So if you want it to power on, default is to analog or default to be Bluetooth. Like if you're using it with a no head unit, you're going to want it to always default to the Bluetooth.
Right.
If you want to be able to switch between the two, you could have it default to the analog, and then you can switch to Bluetooth through the app. You have your noise gate here that we talked about earlier, your input volume for Bluetooth, which pretty much is always going to be up. you're never really going to have a situation where the Bluetooth is going to be too hot. There's a fine possibility of that happening. That's why the control is there. But 99.9% of the time, that's going to be all the way up. You have your auto turn off. Here's your delay time. You have your delay, your secondary output. You can do your delay on and off. And then our software information and things that you're not going to be really playing with too much. And then all your presets here. This is where you save them. So let's say you're a shop and you're doing this, doing lots of the same setup, right? You should be, if you're a shop, a lot of times you'll be selling packages. Like you make yourself the expert, right? Hey, we do Tesla Model 3. We just did 5 of these last week, whatever.
Yeah, you already have the tune dialed in.
And you already have that tune like 99% there. Like you just load the pre-tune. You already know what speakers are going in it and everything. And then you fine tune it for the driver, right? You get to measure.
The salt and pepper.
Yeah. You can get them in the car. How do you like it to sound? You know, what kind of music they listen to, and you can play with it. But you're going to get pretty close by just loading a preset.
Yep.
So those things give you flexibility. It's going to save you time on the install. It's going to make it sound better in the long run because you already know what you're doing with that. And the software itself's pretty intuitive. Like you can jump around here and see everything that you want.
You know, John, I've seen a lot of DSP softwares by now, and this one is pretty simple layout. I mean, like that's why I asked you about the hidden menus and the extra stuff. Everything is on one plane, basically.
Yeah, like the little sub menus is really just for things that you're probably only going to adjust like one time and not really touch it again.
Exactly.
Like you're going to adjust your delay one time. You're never going to need that screen again. These options you may have to do a couple times.
And just to clarify, this is on what, a PC platform?
The main software is PC, and the Bluetooth interface is on iOS and Android.
All right, let's get you back here. Listen, if you're just tuning in, I'm with John Catalano from Diamond Audio. We're talking about DSP, of course, and more importantly, the brand new DSP amplifiers coming your way from Diamond Audio. We're going to take a quick break, John. When we come back, I got more questions with regards to specific options and maybe a couple other things that people need to know. We'll be right back.
Hey, Paul with SiriusXM here. And with 3 easy steps, you can maximize your business. Number 1, make sure you have the current promotional material up. Understand the offer? Make sure your team knows it. 2, have a unit on display. Set the presets to different genres so you can recommend and play the music that your customer listens to. And number 3, think about this. Most vehicles you're replacing the head unit with already has a SiriusXM tuner in it. So adding it just requires an antenna adapter, a SiriusXM tuner. It's a 30-second install and you're done. So there it is, guys. 3 easy steps to maximize every sale this season with SiriusXM.
All right, and we're back with John Catalano from Diamond Audio. We're talking DSP Amplifiers, a brand new series coming to you from Diamond Audio. We talked a lot about the OEM integration, the DSP, the ruggedness of the amplifiers. Really, this is a series that, like you said, John, is good to go pretty much anywhere you want to upgrade sound. I've got a couple, I guess, more specific details I'd like to ask you about. You know, one of the challenges of getting the kind of power that you're claiming into such a small chassis, I have to ask, is heat dissipation. A lot of times we're going to be installing these amplifiers in not so savory locations, whether it's, under a seat, squeezed between two things, on the top of a bike. So what did you think about when it comes to the design and the heat dissipation element?
So the way the amplifier is done, the whole bottom of the amplifier, which is backwards in the way you would think it, like this is the bottom when you're mounting it, but this is actually the bottom of the amplifier, the way the circuit board's in there. So this whole area here is where the output devices are. All the parts that get hot are evenly distributed on the back of this. So it uses this whole chassis. When you put it under a infrared camera, it heats up evenly. So, and they do get warm. Don't get me wrong. It's a lot of power in this little chassis, but it gets to a point and then it just stays there. It also has thermal rollback if you kind of get a little bit too crazy with it. But if you set everything up like the way we did in our workshop, you shouldn't have any issue with it.
So what John just referred to, you guys want to check that out. John does a brilliant workshop on CMA Networks. It's all about how to properly set up your DSP amplifier. You talk about level matching input, adjusting outputs, and all that type of stuff. So make sure you check that out. I got another one since I have you, and I'm going to take advantage of the fact that the product designer is on the show today. What was the secret sauce in getting that kind of output into such a small frame?
Again, just the advancement in components. So the chipsets are getting much faster. We're able to put more power to them, and it allows them to switch faster. Again, that's why the monoblocks are full range. The beauty about having a monoblock full range, I like to use it in like a boat instance, or if you wanted to have like some crazy left-right separation, something like that. You gotta, or these guys that have these big arrays, you don't need stereo. You just need power, right? So you got a bunch of tower speakers, you're doing a UTV, something like that. You're not really too worried about sound stage. You just want volume.
Mm-hmm.
Why not put this little amplifier, it's 1,000 watts, and run everything on it? You run 4 speakers on it. You got 250 watts of channel or per speaker, and you're jamming. It makes it, it's a no-brainer.
I like how you literally thought of all the obscure scenarios, not just in a car, but like whether it's in a power sports, a bike, a boat, whatever you're talking about. This thing can pretty much check the box. I'm trying, and honestly, guys, I am struggling to find objections to where this thing might hiccup, or might skip a step. I can't think of one at the moment. How about application specific? Has Diamond thought about maybe coming out with like specific brackets that fit for different platforms to help facilitate installs even further?
We do. We have a bracket for the 24 Harleys, so you can, and it's bundled with our A to B interface. So you get the amplifier bracket, you get the relocation, because you're going to take the factory amplifier out. That's why it needs the A to B interface. So you get that interface, the bracket, and then you choose your amplifier to go with that. We have some Jeep specific brackets, and we have a bunch of UTV brackets that are going to be coming out very shortly. So we're always looking at ways to, again, we want to be a solution. We want the amplifier to be a solution. We want the brackets to be a solution. We want to make it as easy as possible for you to be able to get good sound in the vehicle that you're working on.
As few objections as possible. You mentioned motorcycle quite a few times here. And we know, and from experience, that we're not dealing with a whole bunch of voltage that we have access to, right? On a bike, it's not even a real alternator. So can these amplifiers handle those situations?
Oh, for sure. And again, the voltage range on the amplifier is 8 volts to 17 volts. So especially on a bike, and we want to be as efficient as possible too. So they're upper 90s in efficiency. Again, using the right components that are as efficient as possible, so you're not wasting it to heat. Again, it's a small chassis. Eventually it's going to warm up because you're driving it, but we got to utilize everything and be as efficient as possible. And those things are all these things that have to come together to design an amplifier of this magnitude.
You've got me so curious about this small platform, that's bundled up with DSP and all the features that you talked about. So I guess my last question has got to come back to the core of what we do. And the core of what we do, John, as you know, we love music, and we want to reproduce great music in whatever environment we're talking about. So let's talk about the car for a second. Diamond's got a lot of different amplifiers in their lineup. So in your opinion, John, how do these amplifiers stack up to traditional amplifiers with regards to sound quality?
Well, the distortion on these amps or their rated power is well under 0.5%. It's like 0.03%. So if you set it up, again, like we talked about in the workshop, if you set it up at the levels that we say it's going to do, because it'll do more than that, you're not going to have any distortion, and you'll have some headroom, right? Now, anybody that tells you that a small amplifier is going to have the sound quality of a large footprint amplifier is lying to you. And I'm not going to be the person that lies to you. There's a disadvantage to having a compact amplifier. Is the average person going to notice? No. And you can also set it up so there is no disadvantage. So like for me, if I was setting it up for a car application, I would set it up so my output is about 90% of its full capability, because we already have more over that. So then you're expanding the dynamic range of the amplifier. So now you're going to get a compact amp that has a pretty good signature, like a large footprint amplifier, because you haven't railed it up to the full power, if you can understand where I'm going, right? So you're like, for an example, let's say it was 100 watt RMS per channel. It's going to do more than that. It's going to do 115, 120 watts. let's give it a little more. Let's set it up so it's doing 90 watts RMS at full volume. So then when you have that transient that's loud, it has, 50% basically, because it's underrated already, 50% to go for that transient, and then you're golden, right? No chance of any distortion.
So if I understood you correctly, it's unfair really to compare a small compact amplifier to a full-size amplifier. However, with the advancements of technologies, you have done everything in your power to optimize the sound quality given the format. Does that make sense?
Totally. So if I may just add a little more. So we know that this style of amplifier is always going to be driven very hard, right?
Yes.
A lot of times, because they're compact, we know that we added a ton of features so they were very suitable for car, but we know that a lot of times there's going to be a UTV, it's going to be a golf cart, it's going to be in these applications where the quality necessarily isn't the main driver, it's the output, right? So they're going to be played at full tilt. So we wanted to make sure that this amplifier plays full tilt with no distortion, right? Give it that, and then you want to put it in a different situation where, yes, you want more of that quality aspect and not as much as that output aspect. You dial it back just a little bit, and now you have the dynamic headroom you would have on a large footprint amplifier in a small amplifier. So you get to do both. You just got to know what you're doing with the application.
Okay, so real quick then, if I was to use this DSP amplifier in a car situation, what speakers from Diamond would you recommend this matches with?
Well, really, you could do anything, but our DMD-X would be a great starting point. It's a very broad line. We have 3-ways, we've got 2.5s, pretty much any size you could possibly want, and they're efficient. You don't need a ton of power. So you could run the passive crossovers that it comes with, and then just run a 4-channel, right? You could do a dynamic, or run the 6-channel and run an active.
That's not fun. We want active channels. Come on.
Yeah, so do the 3-ways and 3-ways and do the active setup. You'll be at 4 ohms, so you're 150 watts a channel.
I mean, that's a lot. Most people don't even ever hear more than 75 watts a channel, to be honest with you.
Right. So you dial those tweeters back, right? Like we just talked about. So you're gonna have, you're gonna dial those tweeters down. You're gonna run your mid ranges at probably 100 watts, and then that way you have 150 watts for your mid bass drivers.
Yep, that's right. Which is what we want.
And so it really allows you. Again,
and then you have the mono, to power. I mean, what I'm getting at here is, I really like the layout of the amps because you can do so many different systems, whether it's a 2-way, a 3-way, a 2-way front, a coaxial back, like 2 amps, if not one, depending on how simple you want to make it.
And they're so small, you put 2 of them together. It's nothing. It's the size of a normal amplifier.
This is exactly it. Okay. Listen, we've had a great conversation here, guys. If you want to find out more information about these brand new DSP amplifiers coming to you from Diamond Audio, make sure you hit up their website located at diamondaudio.com. John, I want to thank you for coming in today, introducing to us this new series of amplifiers. I think Diamond's got a bright future ahead. I think you're on the right path. You're checking all the boxes, and I did my very best to try to challenge you, but you kind of had an answer for everything. So thank you again for joining us. If you like what you see here, make sure you hit the subscribe button below. We go all the time, 5 days a week with mobile audio electronics. And do me a favor, hit that notification bell so you know when we come on with some great, fresh mobile electronics content. That's it for this CMA Connected, brought to you by SiriusXM. I'm your host, Ben Rue. Until next time, we connect.